What up, New York Giant Nation? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan, coming back at y'all with a little something, something. I'm gonna get this thing started off on a little bit of a sad note. This is not football related, but it is sports related. I'm gonna say rest in peace to an absolute sports legend today, Hammer and Hank Aaron. Many consider, and I consider, the true home run king because he absolutely did not cheat the game to accomplish that goal. That's my opinion. It may not be, a shared opinion, but I just frankly don't care. That's how I feel. Hank Aaron is the true home run king, not Barry Bonds. With that being said, we lost Hank Aaron today. Unfortunately, he's 86 years old. I'm not sure about the full details of what he may have been going through in his final days, but Hank Aaron was an absolute sports legend, and I just wanted to start this podcast off by saying rest in peace to a true legend of sports, period. Not just baseball, just sports, period. What he did in the time when he was playing, it just wasn't easy for black men out there playing the game, playing that game, and doing the things he was doing. I mean, Hank Aaron is absolutely not just a home run king. He's one of the greatest baseball players of all time, period. Hank, he was because he's known for his slugging, but he was good out in the field too. Like you said, an absolute Atlanta legend, baseball legend, sports legend. Hank Aaron is a phenomenal person. Obviously, I never got to meet him in person, but I've never ever heard anybody even utter a remotely bad thing about Hank Aaron. So just want to say rest in peace to him and offer my condolences to his family, his friends, and just everybody out in the sports community that's affected by the passing of Hank Aaron today. All right, now let's get on in business here. Today I want to talk to you guys about this thing, this overwhelming, I don't understand, outcry for the Giants to use their number 11 overall pick on Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. I'm gonna go right on the record and tell you right now, this kid is a phenomenal football player. I'm not knocking what he does, what he's done on the field at the University of Florida. He is an excellent tight end. He's a good football player, straight up. But I'm going to tell you absolutely why you can't use the 11th overall pick on Kyle Pitts if you're the New York Giants. Because to be quite frank, tight end just ain't a premium enough position anymore. Yes, I know there's a few special guys in the league right now, and I will get into them in a couple of minutes. But you just can't go around with your number 11 overall pick and just calling tight ends names in today's NFL. That's not been taking your first round pick seriously, I feel like, anymore. Because I'm going to be quite frank. The last 20 years of NFL drafts, I'm going to tell you guys who the absolute best tight end drafted in the first round in the last 20 NFL drafts. In 2007, the Chicago Bears, with the 31st overall pick, selected Greg Olsen. He is, in the last 20 years, had the absolute best career amongst the tight ends selected in the first round in the last 20 NFL drafts. And Greg Olsen went on to have a great career for the Carolina Panthers, but I bet many of you forgot that he even played his first couple of years in Chicago. Yeah, I bet you a lot of people forgot that because he wasn't making a whole lot of noise. He didn't really start making noise until he was in Carolina. And even then, he never was considered the absolute stone cold best tight end in the league. He was probably in the top three conversation for a couple of years. He had some really good years in Carolina. I'm not, and there's other good guys on this list. Good players. They were good players, but they weren't, none of the guys on this list from the last 20 years of first round tight ends, none of them were ever considered the rock solid, stone cold best tight end in the NFL. None of them ever were. Some of these guys were flat out absolute busts. A lot of them were, as a matter of fact. A lot of these guys were just flat out busts. Some of these names are names that have been long forgotten. But that's what I'm bringing this point up was you can find a good tight end well deep into the draft. I mean, right now, currently in the NFL, I think I wouldn't be out of line to say that Travis Kelce is the absolute stud, cream of the crop, best tight end in the NFL. Third round pick. George Kittle, another absolute stud at the position. Fifth round pick. Mark Andrews, another third round pick, I believe. Waller, he was picked like in the fifth or sixth round or something like that, I believe. Those are who I consider probably based off at least this past season the best four best tight ends in NFL right now currently playing. None of them picked before the third round. None of them. I mean, you got some good young prospects right now. Like T.J. Hawkinson, a couple years ago was a first round pick in tight end, and he's not. I'm not saying like the kid's bad. He's not a bad football player. He's okay. But have you seen anything that's definitely indicating that this kid is getting ready to take that next step and be the absolute best at this position, worthy of the number 8 overall pick in the NFL draft? You just don't use picks like that on a tight end. I'm sorry. Kyle Pitts is a phenomenal talent. I get it. The kid can play. But do you really see him being that guy that's going to come in and just change the whole culture of this team around to make this offense so much better because we picked a tight end? No, I'm sorry. You just can't use that pick on him, man. And the kid's obviously still going the first round. He's phenomenal. I get it. But I don't want the Giants to use that number 11 overall pick on Kyle Pitts or any other tight end, to be quite frank. It's just not what you do. It's not what you do with that selection, man. Like you gotta look at, like I said, this list. I wish I was set up better and I could put this list up here for you guys to see, man. Like I can just run them down for you, man. From like starting from, we didn't even have any first round tight ends selected last year. We had from 2019, you got T.J. Hawkinson, Noah Fant. 2018, Hayden Hurst. 2017, 3 tight ends went in the first round. 2017, O.J. Howard, Evan Ingram, David Njoku. Come on, man. Really? Seriously? Eric Ebron in 2014. 2013, Tyler Eifert. 2010, remember how everybody loved Jermaine Gresham coming out of college? Yeah. Look at his NFL career. Brandon Pettigrew, Dustin Keller, Vernon Davis, Mercedes Lewis, Heath Miller, Kellen Winslow Jr. I mean, some of these guys were good football players. Like I said, they weren't all bust, but none of them, except for maybe Greg Olsen, seemed truly worthy of the first round pick that they were. I mean, Vernon Davis was okay. Like I said, Jeremy Shockey, he had some pretty good years for us in New York. Obviously, maybe could have been a potential Hall of Fame tight end if he maybe would have stayed in New York and kept his mouth shut. But it's just, I mean, you got Todd Heap on this list, Dallas Clark. Like I said, you got a couple of good guys that were good football players, but not what you. None of them were what you really want out of a first round draft pick. None of them delivered what you expect when you that home run you hit with a first round draft pick. Like, now, it was different if Kelce was on this list. It's different if, like I said, George Kittle was on this list. Those guys are home run hitters. But like I said, they weren't even drafted before the third round. They're the absolute cream of the crop at the position. 1 and 2, and it's not even close to me. Because I think it's a major drop off from George Kittle to Mark Andrews. Myself, that's how I feel personally. But Mark Andrews, I would still put right up there amongst the best in the league right now. But I feel like you got Kelce and Kittle, and then I feel like there's a pretty big drop off. And you got like guys, like I said, Mark Andrews and the guy from Oakland right now, whose name is slipping out. I mean, Las Vegas right now, whose name is just slipping my head again. Just that Darren Waller. Excuse me. I mean, guys like that. I mean, they're not first round picks. They don't, and they're the best at the position. So all these guys that they're going in the first round at this position, as you see, none of them are clearly, they're not panning out to being. And like I said, if you're taking a tight end in the first round, he better be a stud. He better not only be a stud, he better be heading at that pace to be the best at the position. That's how I feel about picking a tight end in the first round. If he ain't got potential to be the absolute best at the position, then you don't go there. You just don't go there. I mean, before And before this list, I ended at 2000. But before then, prior then, you did have Tony Gonzalez, who obviously nobody's gonna complain about picking Tony Gonzalez in the first round. He was a transcendent player, straight up. He's the absolute probably the best tight end ever selected in the first round from the list that I saw. I mean, it's just it's too much of a crapshoot. You can't use the number 11 overall pick on a tight end. So you know what I mean. I advise highly not to call Kyle Pitts' name with the number 11 overall pick. Now maybe some scenario if we traded back in the draft and we were like picking in that, like I said, from that 25 to 32 range in the back end of the first round, then I guess then, you know what I mean, it's a little different then. But the number 11 overall pick, you cannot use that pick on Kyle Pitts. The kid's a great football player. I'm not knocking his skill. I recognize the kid's skill. But number 11 overall pick, the proof is in the pudding. The last 20 years worth of tight ends selected in the first round, I feel like only one of them had a career worth that first round status. And that's Greg Olsen, straight up. I just don't feel like any of the rest had a career truly worth that first round status. Like I said, Shockey looked like he was while he was in New York, but that changed once he started moving around in the back end of his career. He wasn't even the same player anymore. Like I said, a couple of other good guys on this list, and I really go back to the 2017 year because, like I said, 3 of them went in the first round. None of these 3 guys they're not even remotely close to the top end of the tight end list. They all got potential, but none of them are there, man. And maybe they might come around, but David Njoku spent his whole career basically injured. O.J. Howard, the same thing, basically. He's been injured his whole entire career. Evan Ingram, I mean, he's been injured a lot too. I mean, he played all the games this year, but the kid has the dropsies like nobody ever seen before. So, yeah, you just can't, at New York Giant Nation, Dave Gettleman, powers that be, please do not call Kyle Pitts' name with the number 11 overall pick. I will embrace the kid as a New York Giant, obviously, because I'm definitely going to embrace the kid and hope the best for him. But I don't want to hear his name get called with the number 11 overall pick. It's just it's just other ways to find great tight ends. Clearly, great ones. I mean, and look at Antonio Gates, another example. This guy wasn't even drafted. One of the absolute all-time best tight ends. Wasn't even drafted. Come on. Do not use the number 11 overall pick on Kyle Pitts. It's not that the kid's not a talented football player. You just don't do certain things. And using that number 11 overall pick in today's NFL on a tight end ain't going to get the job done. It's not going to be good enough. And I just advise strongly we don't do it. With that being said, I don't have the power. But that is my advice to you, New York Giant Nation. And New York, I just wish we'd all get off this train. Because there's absolute proof that picking a tight end that high doesn't usually pan out. It just doesn't usually pan out. Like I said, you get a lot of good football players, but this list I'm looking at right now, and like I said, I wish I could show it to you guys. I just don't have that technology set up yet, unfortunately. But you can certainly look it up for yourself. It's just no. You can't take a tight end that high in the draft. Sorry. It just doesn't prove to be ever worth it. Because all the best tight ends in the league right now currently, none of them were first round picks. None of them. Literally none of them. The top people that probably the guys considered like the top 5 tight ends right now in this NFL right now, none of them are on this list. Because none of them were first round draft picks. With that being said, that's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I'm great. Peace up out of here. So you can follow me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MACDA Giants fan. Peace.